Okay, going live. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another YouTube live event with us here at Crystallize. It's me and Didrik today. Crystallize, I'm losing my words. Didrik is the head of engineering, for those of you that do not know or are not familiar. So today we will be continuing our previous deployment, our previous work on the boilerplate. Didrik and Håkon were working on that on the last event. They were essentially changing the shapes a little bit, altering the front end, and now we will be styling that with Didrik's help, who of course knows his stuff better than most.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yes, indeed. So yeah, I'll just, if you want, Didrik, you can start sharing your screen.
I will share my screen, and I'll just correct you on something, and that's that I'm not head of engineering, but design.
Oh, yeah, I just said engineering, yeah.
Just so don't give me the hard questions.
Well, you never know what can happen in a couple of months.
Well, true enough. Let's see. No, but what I am going to do today is to catch up from where we started from where we left it last time. Håkon, who is head of engineering, helped us out creating a new shape in our e-commerce called minicars. He created a new shape called manufacturers. Because what we do have in minicars is basically model cars like these guys. So what we want to do today is to have a relation to what kind of manufacturer that has produced each of these cars. You can also see that we already have populated our tenant with some data. So we have Fiat and Ferrari. And this is basically the state I usually get stuff in. People have created functionality. You know this to be true, Stavros.
Yes.
They render all the different components from the shape inside of a view. So we have the title, the brief, and the image, which, well, some people will call it minimalistic design. It's not that great in terms of design or keeping the lines. So we'll try to figure that out or fix that today. So here we have the repository that Håkon published last week, or I think it's 2 weeks ago, where we have a subpage called manufacturers. Like I showed you in Crystallize, we have our own shape that we also call manufacturers, and we want a different way of rendering this shape. First, what you need to do is, of course, fix this text because it looks horrible. So I'm going to take this paragraph collection and just copy paste this into the header, and it's going to look better already. It was just misplaced. I want to keep the image down here, actually, because I think if I bring it over here, it's going to say Ferrari, Ferrari. Well, it looks okay as well. Let's keep it like that. But then you see on Fiat, like here, now it's stating Fiat, Fiat. So that's kind of weird, maybe. But let's go for this. I like how it looks. Let's get our related cars in here. First, what we need to do is to make sure that we fetch it from our graph, basically, or from our tenant. So what we are going to do is fetch what is called relating items. I am going to use our microformat from components called items, which is basically whatever renders the type of shape that we are going to display, like we have here on a catalog or a folder. I want this component to render under our manufacturer page as well. So that's why I am going to fetch it in the graph the same way, trying to code and talk here, the same way we do in each catalog. In the boilerplate for Crystallize, you already have some fragments in the library. You can see here for servers like this. These fragments are basically you fetch everything that you can from a product or an item. It's good for the development phase, like we are in now. I would cherry pick. Let's see. I would cherry pick my my data later on. But
so
for this
yeah,
stage,
you would typically just get all the data you have now just to see how this looks, and maybe keep the things that you need, such as images, or you may implement videos in the future. But
exactly.
when you have that specified in the as an end result, you don't need to be querying for video components, for instance, in Crystallize. And of course,
Exactly.
you guys can go ahead and everything is under lib, as you can see, under lib graph to check out the fragments that that Didrik is using now to query the data, basically. So everything is listed there, and it's practically anything that you will probably be needing in order to query anything from the graph.
Exactly. And for now, just because I want all the data, because I don't know what I want to show, I'm going to fetch it all from the lib graph/fragments. And in here, it's just graphing fragments like items and on product, which means that when I refresh this now, hopefully, we crash. And that's what's happened when we live code. So let's see, what did I go wrong here? There's probably something in here. Relating items. Oops.
Or maybe also, Didrik, just if you can increase your font size a little bit.
Oh, is it too small?
Yeah, a bit from what yeah, perfect.
Yeah, maybe it will help me as well. I wish I did this before we started out. Oh, I understand. Oh, sorry. This is gonna help. Yeah, it was just because I imported the fragments inside of the query, which is stupid. Well, let's keep on. What we do have now is you can see already that we are actually rendering our product micro format. And that's because from the boilerplate, we actually do this already. So this is standard in the boilerplate. What it basically is, it's this function called items. We fetch that from, or we import that from component/items, which basically is just...
Oh, Didrik, if you can increase a little bit more.
It's still too small?
Yeah. If you can do that.
All right. Is it better?
We'll see in a little bit.
Let's see. Tell us if it's still too small.
Yep. I think it's fine now. No.
Yeah, hopefully. Now I lost my trail. Yeah, we went into our components folders and fetched our items rendering. And this is basically just a renderer of different shape types, where we just pass down the item type, and this will select the kind of type or this kind of shape that we want to render. And since inside of manufacturer we do have products and only products for now, this is what we get. And this is the same component that we get on a folder listing. It's starting to look better. What I don't like is that you can't see the related items, and that's because we usually build up each of our templates or our views from one style component called outer. So you see here, it's a style component that we have defined in our UI, which is called outer, and it has a min width of 80 or 75 window height or something. So it will basically take up the whole screen. And since the related products is outside, they are going to render beneath that wrapper. So what I am going to do is I want to keep a lot of the styling that I have in outer already. But I am going to extend that class. So I am going to go into my styled file that we already have in manufacturer, which is basically the style sheet for this view. And I'm going to import it here. Maybe even as O. Because what I can do then is I can export a new style component called outer equals styled O, like this. And as you can see, nothing has changed in the layout, and that's just because I basically just fetched or imported this from our UI library, and now I'm going to extend it and modify it. So let's say min height 0. There you go. Already now we can see our related products. And this is basically the way I usually do when I want a small modifications to something that I have already defined in a previous style sheet somewhere else. So I just import it. You could also say that maybe we want to align it to the logo, for example, so we could reduce the max width to, let's do the default 440 pixels, which is the default screen for desktop on Macs. And now you can see it aligns better. We still have this though. So to reduce this, we need to go down to the related style component here, which you can see that we define in here and we call up here. We're going to reduce the size here as well. Like this. Yeah. Now we can see that everything that we have in here aligns nicely with the logo, which is just more soothing to look at. At least that's my opinion. That's the beauty about design, because everybody can have an opinion.
Not me.
Well, not you. That's because I've seen your designs. But anyway, I'm not 100% satisfied yet, because I can still see that, okay, this image is not centered inside of this container. And also because with this image, you can see that we have a lot of what I would like to call white space around the image. And that only means that the main content is not at the edge of their images, which is a good thing. Because what we can do then is we can stretch this image from left top corner to the right bottom corner, and basically have the text overlay the image. So let's try to do that. This is going to be on the product microformat that we imported. So this is going to be something that also happens on the folder listings, like here. And here you can see more clearly that this is not centered. So what we need to do then is to go into items here, product item, open the index page, and the styles. So here we have the microformat. As you can see, we usually use the same kind of naming. You have outer, which is the outer wrapper of the container. We have an inner and an image wrapper. And the image wrapper, I'll show you why we do that now, because then we can modify it in a better way than if the markup is wrong, or HTML markup is wrong. But I'll show you what I'm talking about. Because what did I say, Saros? I wanted to make a cover image, basically. That's what it calls. If you see in a magazine, you have an image from top left to bottom right corner.
Yep,
and a lot of
text.
Yeah, a lot of people will probably do this with CSS and add the image to the CSS, and it's especially easy now that we are in a React style component environment. The downside, if you actually add your image to the CSS, is that Google won't index it. You won't be able to benefit from the sizes that we provide with Crystallize. And it's basically, I'm not saying wrong, but it is the wrong way of doing it. So you want to add the image to your DOM. And the way we do it here is that we have our image wrapper, which is basically just the outer of the image, and we have our image. The image is something that we have defined here in our style.js. You can see here, I am importing the image package that we have created. And that's just because this handles the data model that Crystallize has with WebPs, PNGs, JPEGs in a proper way when you render it in your designs. Of course, you need to add sizes to not render the biggest image. But you can see we call the image wrapper here. So what I am going to do, I am going to modify this. So first off, let's fix the center alignment of the image. To do that, we have an outer with display flex. So my guess is that content center. Oh, that wasn't good. That helps. Now it's center aligned. That's a better starting point. Our next step here would be we need to bring the image basically out of the rendering or of the styles, what you call it, from the blocking. So I am going to add an absolute positioning to the image like this. looks pretty horrible, but we are going to fix that. My guess is that it is looking a bit weird because we don't have a max or a container set. So what's basically creating our height here now is the padding of the text inside. So let's add some height like this. Now we have the outer or the inner is expanding the outer wrapper to 450 pixels. So now we can position our image like this. Now it's on top. We want it to fill this whole container, like I said, top left, bottom right. You can see that the image wrapper has a height. I'm going to do this, and here we are. Now this is filling the whole container. And the reason why this is filling the whole container is because of the styling that we have down here. Remember I talked about having the image inside of the CSS? This is how you can manage the same thing with the same properties as, for example, background, position, isn't that the slide? Cover. You can do the same thing with object fit, like this. So if I do contain, it's going to keep it in its original ratio and stay still inside the container. If I say that object fit is cover, it's going to fill it out. And the reason it's filling it now is because the image wrapper, as you can see here, is positioned to absolute, basically top left, absolute position, and fill the whole container. And now the image is following that container. I still think we need to keep the text further down though, because it's pretty unreadable where it is at the moment. Let's see, I'm going to remove the border again, and text. You can see we have height. Oops. Here. Let's make that 100%, actually. It's still going to keep its original centered position. Since this has flex direction column, that means that justify content is the right property. Here. And that's just because whenever you switch from a row to a column, the properties are actually inversed. So horizontal is align items, and vertical is justify content when you are in a flexbox that it has the direction of column. Did I say that correctly, Stavros?
I guess so. I didn't know that actually.
No, but as you can see,
it's pretty good info for us.
Yeah,
styling.
It is looking a bit better. Let's go into cars. Yeah, still works.
Yep.
So yeah, let's see how it works. Better. If I go in here now, and I probably talked a bit too little about the project shapes, but that's for Håkon to talk about. But what we actually did is I can go to the race car, and instead of adding a car to the manufacturer, we actually added the relations to the product. So for this race car, looks like a Ferrari. We are going to add our Ferrari manufacturer. You could do it the upside way as well, but this is basically how we want to model this for this special use case. And we publish, we go into manufacturers. This doesn't look too good. We can do that another time, but here it is. Here we have our related products, which is a race car and a Ferrari.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice. So essentially, we can say here that the way that we've built the boilerplate is that, of course, it's component based, right? So people can go in, change something in one place. This will be reflected in every other one that the same component is used, and that's why, of course, Didrik's changes are reflected in both there and when you get the entire product catalog under cars, of course, right?
Definitely. Every time we list in a folder, you are going to, or at least a product, you are again going to get this view. What you might notice, I was just squinting at it here, is that this is not reflecting. And this is because we don't use the item component marker from what render at the front page in the grid, because the grid design is based on its layout, on what you define. I can show you. Do we have time? Should I show?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Let's do it quickly. We can go into the grid as well. It is built up in a similar fashion, but we still have some other things to care about here. And the most important part in the grid is that the layout determined how the design should be. Because if I were to render the same product component inside of the grid on the front page, this top banner would have the same design. And that probably wouldn't look too good, or you're not in control on how it looks. So what we have here is a lot of classes, basically, that are generated based on your grid size or your grid cells. So you can see here that we have, my grid looks like this. We have 3 columns, and we have, I think it's 4 rows. Yeah, because here we have a video. And this is, of course, defined in Crystallize. If you go here, fancy products, this is the same grid. So if you want to, maybe I have some, yeah, that's not for me to worry about. If we have some products in here and we want to style them, it is basically the same as we just did. We're going to go for the image wrapper like this. We're going to extend it down to underneath this cell. So all our cells, that is 1 by 1. We're going to say position absolute. This is going to break it again. Left 0, top 0. Just position it top left corner. We probably need some height here. Let's go 500 pixels. You can even say 600. Image is, because I think this has contain actually. Let's see how this works out. Yeah, that works out fine. And that's because we have already defined the main properties. So now I'm just overriding depending on what kind of class or what kind of cell this image is inside, or this product. We can also go for the text here also. Hopefully. I'm going to check. Oh. That's not what I wanted. I want to flex end. Why didn't you tell me, Soros?
I don't know that property.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, so that's somehow how we can style. Of course, everything is up to you on how you want your e-commerce / website to work. But everything is in there, and everything is stylable. We usually use display grid and display effects to render layouts, and then it's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what I had.
Yep, that's really nice. I mean, yeah, way better than I could have done it, right?
Well, you do have some qualities of your own.
Yeah. Well,
maybe not design.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for the lesson. Actually, that's pretty valuable info.
Yeah, I hope people enjoyed it. And if you guys would like me to go through something else as well, feel free to drop a comment in our Slack channel or something else. Or if you want Håkon to come back, you can tell us that as well.
That's true. And also for those of you that don't know it, of course, all the code that Didrik and Håkon have been working on is available for everyone, right? It's open source repo in GitHub under Crystallize API. I'll have that in the description after this event. I'll add it up for everyone to see if they want to follow up and check out the changes and follow whatever we'll be doing in the future as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, I think it was pretty quick, but that's what I wanted to show.
Yep.
Because we got some questions about it, and this is basically how we do it.
Mm-hmm. It's really good to understand that in the boilerplate, basically everything is a component, and essentially in every page or every view, you can go in and style. It's like for every component you have a styles .js file. You can go in and style that component specifically.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Okay, thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah. So thanks everyone for joining. Of course, like I said, all the links will be in the description for you to check out if you want to, and hopefully you'll check us out in the next live. I'm not sure who will be in that one and what we'll do, but it will be a good one for sure.
Popular demand, I guess.
Popular demand. That's true. That's true. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you in the next one.